What's up, everyone? Riley here, and welcome to my Overkill Reviews edition of the best metal albums for 2024. And what a year it's been. There's been so many albums that I went absolutely ape over, and then there's a lot that I don't even remember because they did not stick the landing. And there was a few albums that I really anticipated, and it turns out that a lot of the ones that I wasn't actually looking forward to ended up being the ones that were the most significant. So let's talk about them. First up, I'm gonna hit you with the records that I threw a 5 out of 5 skulls at this year. I just get excited about metal when I'm talking about it, and I get really amped up and I'm like, yeah, that was sick. And you know what? I stand by all of these and that decision still. First up, Dodsrit had their album Nocturnal Will drop. It was post-gazy black metal supreme. I'm just kind of floundering around with like hard eyes popping out of my skull. I'm almost embarrassed, but they slammed it out of the park. Definitely a top contender for my album of the year. Like, there's no doubt in my mind. So with that being said, I'm giving it a 5 out of 5 skulls on Overkill Reviews. It had a lot of punk elements to speed the pace up. It was also melodic a lot of the time, which gave it some more heart-wrenching emotion. And the whole album really relied on that tension building to then release it into something epic closer toward the end of tracks, which ended up giving it a lot of favor when it came to atmosphere building. Still a 5 out of 5. Gatecreeper had Dark Superstition come out, and it was exactly what I wanted to see from them. It was punchier than previous releases. Everything was really straightforward, but had really good structure. It's one of those records where you can throw it on in the car, you can throw it on when you're cleaning the house, throw it on when you take the dog out. You don't have to overthink it. But the thing is that if you want to, there's so many cool incorporated nuances that are built within it. So either way, it's simultaneously a win-win. And with that being said, this is going to be my second 5 out of 5 Skulls album so far of 2024. There was a lot of hooky riffs. It had a lot of great grooves. It was like if Wolverine Blues era Entombed had a baby with In Flames. Wormwitch had their self-titled album come out this year, and every time I reflect back on this record, the first thing my brain does is go, drums, because my God, were they ever tight and did they ever sound good? Vocals aren't underwhelmed and they aren't overwhelmed either. It just feels like everything is in perfect balance in the world of Wormwitch, and that's good enough for me. So I'm giving it a 5 out of 5 skulls today. It was way faster and way harder than any other album that they have ever put out, so therefore it was also way less melodic. They had all sorts of cool samplings on this album and weird esoteric nuance, and I will simply have my black metal no other way. And then Blood Incantation dropped absolute elsewhere. This album was so cool. 70s prog on a death metal comet to Mars. So it was like my two favorite things. I had death metal and I had old 70s prog shit out the sickest baby of the whole year. So with that being said, I'm giving this a 5 out of 5 skulls today. Freakish technical arrangements. It was synthy. It had soul. Brother, from extreme death metal releases in the beginning into editions of prog experimentation, and then they released an entire synth album, and now we see this amalgamation of all these different aspects together, and they couldn't have done it any better. Nobody could have done it any better. It was so cool. And then Opeth dropped their 14th studio album, Last Will and Testament. It was the best Opeth release that I've seen in years. It was the first one with harsh vocals since 2008. It ended up being this really theatrical and dramatically done concept record with Ian Anderson from Jethro Tull, epic, eerie prog, death metal. It was the comeback record that we have all been waiting for from Opeth. It's just magical, and it enhances every little thing that they've done in the past combined into one. And it's never an overstep, it's never a reach, it's never messy, it's never too much, it's never boring, and it's inherently natural within its nuance. It is so Opeth, so easy. 5 out of 5 skulls. I really, really enjoyed it. Welcome back, Opeth. However, I've had a bit of time to sit on this one now, and one, I think Ian Anderson did so much for this album that if he hadn't have been a part of it, it wouldn't have been nearly as sick and well executed as it was. And two, the decision to bring back the death metal now sort of felt like it could have been a deliberate grab to re-intrigue older fans after flopping on a couple of releases. Does that now make this a 4.5 out of 5? Maybe. However, still very, very good Opeth, and still the best release we've seen in a very long time. And now I've got a couple that I didn't review this year, but I really, really enjoyed them, and they may be up your alley as well. First up, I've got Sortilegia. These guys are a raw black metal duo from Toronto. They had an EP come out this year called Sorceress Communion. It was the first thing that they've put out since 2017. It's only got 3 tracks, one of those being a 1 minute and 30-second dungeon synth break right smack dab in the middle of it. But even though it's a short release, it is heavy, it is dense, and it is very thick. I think a lot of the time, a lot of the black metal I listen to strays away from those roots that were volatile, dark, and suffocatingly ominous. And these guys are a project that do it mean, and they stick to those ritualistic roots of underground filth from what black metal truly is and where it came from. And of course, the overall themes on this album are the occult, sorcery, and smothering darkness, and they pull it all together splendidly. Second up, I have Grill. They had their second full-length album come out in November. Grill are a black metal band from France, and they fall into this really niche subsect of French bands that really are medieval folk black metal. These are bands like Vehemence, who I know I've mentioned on this channel before when they've had releases come out. Aoralhawk, fuck, I hope I'm saying that right. They are another really awesome one. Hanternoz is another good one. Genuinely, the list indeed does go on. This release has all sorts on it, from bagpipes to flutes to horns to a fucking hurdy-gurdy. It sounds like a medieval French peasants' revolt that started in a dirt floor tavern, and I'd seriously have it no other way. And besides the whole dark Middle Ages and general historic theming that I think I naturally just gravitate towards because I find it very interesting, it just goes incredibly hard. And last but certainly not least, I really enjoyed Cryptic Hatred's release, Internal Torment. These guys are a 4-piece from Helsinki, Finland, and it was their second full-length album. It was immaculate death metal from fresh ears, eyes, fingers, voices, what the fuck ever. It was so punishing, but it was so fun. They'd spice it up. Like they have a track called Homicidal Intentions, and they changed the tuning and they changed the structure. The last track on the album, which is Internal Torment, they've got awesome synths, but they managed to do it in a way that never takes away from that death metal insanity, and it's always just hard all the way through. Great record. And that's it. Those were my highlights for 2024. I hope you enjoyed them as well, and I'm excited to see what 2025 brings us. Cheers.